Well, hello there. Bill Sherck, the man about the woods, locked indoors currently based on everything going on in the world around us, but that's not going to stop us from the Minnesota Bound podcast, the stories behind the stories, and sitting, I'd say roughly 7.5 feet away.
Now I'm 7.
Just to
sliding
be
back a little bit here.
Socially conscious, Travis Frank, my partner in crime.
What a time, my man. What a time.
There's a lot going on. But like I said, that's not going to keep us from talking about what's really important, and that's the outdoors and everything going on. You know, it's funny. Of course, we're being a little facetious talking about the coronavirus and all the stuff going on with COVID-19 and all the shutdowns and all of that. But you keep hearing them talk about the fact that you can still get outside.
Correct.
And go do things.
Yeah, I mean, we're spending time with our family right now, and I feel like, and I'm sure you do too, you know, this time to really just reset with our families. But the one place that we can all go to safely right now is the outdoors.
Is outside.
Yeah.
It's funny, you know, when I sit at home, I start thinking, this is the time in my life where I want to take the Seek Outside teepee, my 4-dog titanium stove, and I want to go just far away to a place there is nobody else and just set up and exist. We were having a conversation the other night with some friends, and they were worried about running out of toilet paper and all this stuff. And I said, you have to be able to take a step back. Because when we go out and exist simply, right, and I'm talking about camping or living off the grid a little bit, I can go a long time on just a little bit of stuff that, you know, all fits into a backpack, right?
Right. We don't need as much to survive as we think we do. We have a lot of luxuries in this world that we have created and been given, and I think we're going to learn a lot. We don't have a choice. We're going to learn a lot right now.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I'll be honest, when I say, you know, some of these fears that people start talking about, and I look in my freezer and I'm confident that I'm going to provide for my family for a while because I've got a deer. I mean, I took 2 deer last fall. We've eaten a good chunk of it, but I have a full freezer of wild game. I've got deer, I've got ducks, I've got geese, pheasants, one turkey breast left.
Which kind of takes us to today's topic. Do you happen to have in that freezer any snow goose sticks?
I do not. I don't at the moment. But by the time this podcast airs, it's possible that I will. Yeah, because the migration is happening right now.
We're going to need another freezer, hon. This week's episode of Minnesota Bound includes a story that you did that is just unbelievable to watch. It is the migration of the snow geese, or what do they call it? The light geese, right?
Yep.
Coming back north from a little sun time down south.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story because it's really evolved over the last, well, I mean, it continues to evolve, but this wasn't a big opportunity back in the 50s,
right?
Let's say 50s or 60s. But today we have what's called the spring conservation season for snow geese in America. And we're in a major flyway here, not in central Minnesota in our office, but if we go 4 hours or 3 hours to our west, it is one of the most incredible acts of nature that you can witness. And so, I mean, in all reality, I mean, we did this story, yeah, but in all reality, this current time that we're in, when we're looking for things that we can possibly do right now, to just get in a car with your family and drive out to eastern South Dakota, or central South Dakota, or the Dakotas, and just to see it, experience it, stand underneath it, watch 1 million birds fly over your head, and they're all talking to each other, and they all know where they're going, and they all know where they came from. It blows my mind.
Yeah, it's millions and millions of birds. And to give a little understanding of what's happening, those birds have been down where? In southern U.S., down into Mexico,
Yep.
down along the Gulf Coast, and now they're making their way back to northern Canada.
Yeah, up to the tundra. Yeah, so they nest up in the tundra, and in 60, 70 years ago and beyond, they used to migrate all the way straight down to the Gulf of Mexico. Now they may go to Missouri. They may go to Arkansas if things get real bad, but they don't have to go down as far. And that's really why everything has changed and why this conservation season is open, is because the population in the 50s were somewhere around 500 to 600,000 snow geese in North America. That's it.
What had happened to them?
That was just the sustained population.
Wow.
Because when they would leave the tundra, they used so much energy to get down to the Gulf of Mexico that by the time they got back up to the tundra, they weren't this unbelievably successful creature at replenishing their population. Well, our farming agricultural practices in America changed in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, 70s, and 80s. The amount of food these birds have now, all the way down, they're not starving at all, and nor do they even go to the Gulf a lot of times. Like I said earlier, they stop in Arkansas, Missouri. If they have water that isn't frozen and food, they don't need to go any further, and they're very tough. The cold weather doesn't bother them. As long as they have food and water, they're good to go. And so all the way down and all the way back up, they're eating the whole way. And when they get back to the tundra, they're as healthy as they were when they left, if not more healthy. And now they are raising large clutches. And snow geese are a bird that, unlike a lot of other birds in this world, they live a long time. They're talking 25 plus years on some of these birds that they've documented.
Wow.
So you look at the way this agriculture has changed, and the population today is well over 10 million birds in the Central Flyway, in the nesting areas in the tundra. And so now biologists are worried that they're literally going to eat themselves out of house and home up there. And what happens when a population becomes too large in one area? Disease. So they're worried about disease that could potentially wipe out this bird that has exploded. So that's why there's a conservation season. And
I was going to say, and that probably explains why the limit for the season right now, unlimited.
Correct.
You can have as many birds as you can shoot, and you can possess as many as you can fit into the freezer.
Yeah, guys will take trailers out, but the reality is that these birds are smart. They've been hunted from essentially, up there in northern Canada. I want to say if it's not late August, it's early September. And now they're hunted September, October, November, December, January, February, March, and April. So they're hunted 3/4 of the year, and they've seen all the spreads. And so if you fool them, well done to you. You've accomplished something pretty special.
They're flying a little bit higher.
Yep.
They're just a little hesitant to come
Have
and
you
say
ever
hello.
hunted a snow goose before, Bill?
I have not.
Okay, so when they come down, they're way up in the air. They're way up there, and you're like, okay, get ready. And you're laying in this blind, and the birds start to come down, and you're getting your gun ready, like, okay, it's going to happen in 3 seconds. No. They have this way of just hanging. They hang up there, and they'll kind of sail down slowly and slowly. The whole time, they're just picking apart everything below, making sure this is safe. And they'll kind of do this circle where they just circle and hang. And then all of a sudden, when they get to that certain level, if you get a shot, boom, they go straight back up. Or if you're trying to jump them in a field, because when they're feeding in a field, it's white. There might be 500,000 birds, and you think to yourself, we sneak up there, we're going to get a shot, even if we run out there. They don't fly, they don't get up like an airplane and fly and slowly gain altitude. They have this ability to go straight up in the air. And so they're very, very difficult to hunt, very challenging. A lot of the guides, like the ones we did the story on, we can get into this too, but a lot of the guides really focus on the juvenile snow geese when they're hunting, because they've accepted that their chances of even getting close enough to take a shot at an adult bird is so slim. So the adults are the ones that lead the migration. They're hanging back. They're not following that head of the migration. They're following the back end of the migration for these juvenile birds that give them a little bit better chance at success.
I'm glad I trout fish. They're easy to catch this time of year.
This is a dirty job. If you want to be a snow goose guide, Mike Rowe could have done a story on him too, because they have a dirty job.
And that was kind of the essence of the story you produced for Minnesota Bound. These guides that live on the road, they give up life.
They do. Yeah, snow goose guides in America, they most likely hunt or guide in the fall for ducks and geese. And then once the only season that's available is snow goose hunting, they kind of switch. And they'll be down in Arkansas, and they're starting their season early, in February. And they start following them right back up as they migrate up through the Dakotas before they get into Canada. And we joined them for a couple days in South Dakota. These two guides out of Willow Lake, South Dakota, they guide for Prairie Storm Outfitters. Derek Garner started the business, oh gosh, I don't know, probably 7-8 years ago, maybe longer. Josh Huff was one of the young guys that we tagged along with. And it's not a job that's glamorous. They have a passion to hunt, and this gives them, by allowing people to come with them and hunt, it kind of helps them pay for it, I think, and justify what they're doing. They're not becoming rich out there for the most part, unless there's somebody that I haven't met yet. But they do it because they just absolutely love the rush that comes when getting those birds in close enough to take a shot.
Cushy digs? I mean, are they staying at Hampton Inns and eating steaks every night?
No. A lot of these guides will have trailers where they'll modify their trailers and have bunks in them, or they'll sleep in the trucks, because you're driving hundreds of miles in a day following the migration. In Willow Lake, South Dakota, we stayed in the back of it was basically they turned their outdoors shop, bait shop, whatever you want to call it, and to sleeping quarters in the back, and they put bunks up there, and basically they made them out of 2x4s and sheets of plywood, and then threw some mattresses down on them so they could have people stay there. But it's a dirty, muddy, everyone's covered in mud. The snow is melting this time of the year in the fields, and everything is mud. Everything is mud. That's why I say it's a dirty job, because it really is a dirty job. And they don't get a lot of sleep. They really don't, because when you go out there to set up to try to be successful at snow goose hunting, you don't just go set up a dozen decoys and see what happens. These birds are traveling in flocks of, a flock that doesn't have very many birds might be 150 to 500 birds in it. But you're talking about sometimes fooling 10,000, 20,000, 30, 40, 50,000 birds into coming down. So in order to do that, you have to really look the part, and these guys have trailers full of decoys, and you're talking in the thousands into your spread. I remember when we set up the day we set up, we put out, I don't know how many thousand decoys, but we kept track, and it took us a little over 6 hours just to set up our decoy spread, and that was with, I think, 7 of us all working together.
So did you get any shots?
We did. Yeah, we fired a few. So here's what happened. We found this area that they had, historically been a good loafing area for the birds, so they know that if we set up here, we might get a few days. It was kind of a pasture setup, but it had water in the middle of it, shallow, and these birds would come in there by the thousands. So we set up decoys. We had a bunch in the water and then a bunch up on the grass. It was short grass surrounding it, and we hid our blinds in this grass. We probably had 200 decoys, 300 decoys in the water as well. And of course, what happens? Temperatures drop at night. The water, everything freezes up. So at first light, we get back out there in the dark, and we show up, and we're like, son of a, all of that work we did. Now we had to go out there in the water to try to break it up. And of course, these birds are smart enough. They see this reflection. And they like, I'm not going to land on ice. Are you kidding me? So it took us a while to convince a couple birds to come in and land. I think we ended up getting five birds on that particular morning. We had one flock that out of the several hundred flocks that passed by out of range, out of sight, one flock that said, yeah, why not? I'll come down and take a look at that. And they came in and they hung and they hung and they hung forever. And we're like, are they ever going to get low enough? And finally, a handful of them did, and we took 5 out, which was pretty special. It's always nice to be rewarded for all of that hard work. But if you've ever watched any videos online of snow goose hunters, there's this explosion that comes out of the blind when they pull the trigger. They all go, yeah, because it's that work that you can tell was pent up, and that emotion. They let it out, and they get a shot, and a couple birds come down. And I remember I actually had the editor just kind of scale back a little bit of the excitement because they're all screaming afterwards because they didn't want it to be perceived that these guys are just these ruthless killers out there. But at the same time, show some of the excitement to realize that, hey, this was weeks worth of work.
For 5 birds.
Yeah. All of the driving, they reached the spot, we set up the decoys, and it seems like it's only a couple of hours of work, so not that big of a deal, but this is their life.
You are listening to the Minnesota Bound podcast, the stories behind the stories. Travis Frank along with Bill Sherck today. Of course, this podcast doesn't just happen. We've got great sponsors helping support us. Hewitt Docks, our good friends at Rapala, Connecticut, the good folks at Star Banks, and of course, Ice Castles. It's going right now. The birds are on the move right now. I checked the maps, online. There are live maps with... They're almost like storm chasers, right? There are people out keeping tabs. And it looks to me like right now the heart or the most birds are right in South Dakota.
Yeah, and they'll, when you're talking that many millions, you might get a huge wave that goes through. But like I said earlier, if you wanted to go out hunting and you know somebody that has decoys, you can go out and try it on your own. Most likely, you're not going to have a farmer that's going to say, no, I don't want you out there. Unless you would be risking any of their crops out in the field, which most of them aren't, even thinking about putting crops in just yet. But you want to be respectful, obviously, of the landowners there and asking permission. But generally, because this bird is so plentiful, and this is a bird that most people realize, hey, we need to do a little bit here if we can to keep the numbers down, they're going to say yes to you. There are other guides out there. Prairie Storm Outfitters is one of them. There are other guides as well, so you can contact them. They may be full now, but maybe next year you want to get in on the action. But like we talked about right off the bat at the beginning of the show, regardless if you want to hunt for them, just to see them, just to see this. And I remember Scott Franzen, shortly after he bought our company here, he took his daughters out one fall, and he mentioned that he just wanted them to see the migration, to be on the prairie and see the migration just one time. Even if they didn't have an interest in going back, he wanted them to see it because he thought it was something that they should see. And that's always stuck with me because I agree. I've never been underneath the migration, whether it's ducks, geese, snow geese, and not been able to sit there and put life into perspective for a minute, and just realize how small we can be. But just in that open prairie, in those open spaces, and to see a migration so profound, so massive, and watch it go overhead is worth the 3-hour drive west if you live in the Twin Cities. No doubt about it. You won't regret the time you spent with your family and the sights and the sounds of millions of birds somehow knowing where they need to go, south and north, all the way back up.
Same sound I hear every morning when I drop the kids off at school. Are we allowed to even go drive and see these birds? Will the government let us do that?
I mean,
Travis is going to sneak out.
Yeah, we're supposed to stay away from everybody else. So as long as you're in your vehicle, I can't see any harm in doing this. And what safer place than standing in the middle of a field?
Right.
Nowhere.
Seeing one of nature's real shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a few days away from everything else in life that we're supposed to be doing, maybe this is the time that you just say, I'm going to go see something that I probably wouldn't have done otherwise.
Yeah, you can make a day trip of it.
For sure. Absolutely.
If you're looking to figure out where the birds are, I think one of the easiest way, Ducks Unlimited.
Unlimited,
They have a map online. You just type in light goose or snow geese and map, and it pops right up. And again, all these folks are out every day keeping an eye on the birds. So they pinpoint on the map exactly where the big numbers are. And it's funny because even all the way down to Texas, there's still some reports of, as they call it, decreasing birds. Mm-hmm. But right now, it looks to me like South Dakota is ground zero. And it's not central South Dakota. It's kind of towards the Minnesota border.
Yeah, the
it's
east
that
side.
Eastern third.
Yeah, eastern third of the state. I mean, from the Missouri River east. And you can go about, I mean, you'll start seeing them when you get towards the Minnesota border. You'll see them flying in Minnesota. But really, the peak of it is about an hour west of the Minnesota-South Dakota border. And then from there all the way to the Missouri River. But that has been kind of the main flight for the Central Flyway.
See, we're giving people things to do. We're
Hope so.
Providing solutions.
Hope so.
Oh, man. Well, all right. We're going to take the headphones off here and go our separate ways because everyone is telling us we can't be together. But such a fun topic and a great story. And catch it on Minnesota Bound. Of course, if they missed the show on KARE 11 here in Minnesota, you can dial up our Minnesota Bound YouTube channel, and the episode is there in perpetuity. So any day, any night, just dial it up and see the birds.
There you go.
Thanks again to all our great sponsors, Ice Castles, Starbank, Connecticut, Rapala, and Hewitt Docks for helping us get the Minnesota Bound podcast on the air. These are the stories behind the stories. You are Travis Frank.
You are Bill Sherck.
The man about the woods. I'm going home.
Same, buddy.
Talk to you next week. See ya.